I have a condition known as Hell's syndrome, which is defined by 28 distinct features, 26 of which I possess. Some individuals are born with extraordinary traits that challenge expectations and redefine the boundaries of what we believe is possible. These are the individuals who shatter records, challenge scientific understanding, and redefine what's possible. They are living proof that rarity is nothing short of extraordinary. From a real-life tree man to the world's shortest woman, prepare to be amazed as we dive into the stories of 14 truly one-in-a-million people. Before we embark on this fascinating journey to uncover the world's rarest individuals, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss out on more incredible stories. Now, let's dive in. Standing out in a crowd can be significant, but for Brahim Taqiullah, fitting in was never an option. Standing at 8 feet 1 inch tall and with the largest feet on the planet, he becomes the center of attention wherever he goes. Imagine walking down the street and having people stop mid-step, staring in awe as cameras flash. What would that feel like for the young boy? Just another ordinary day. Born in a small village in Morocco, his childhood was anything but ordinary. While most children grow at a slow and steady pace, he grew like a rocket. At the age of 18, the doctors at school finally asked the question no one else had. Why was he growing at such an alarming rate? Blood tests revealed that he had a rare condition that stimulated abnormal and excessive growth, causing his body to continue expanding beyond normal limits. By the time doctors diagnosed him, he was already one of the tallest men in the world. But it was his feet that truly made him stand out. When Guinness World Records came to measure them, the numbers were truly astonishing. His left foot measured 38.1 centimeters and his right foot 37.5 centimeters, officially making them the largest feet in the world. However, having world record-breaking feet was not just an interesting oddity, but it came with real difficulties. Finding shoes was nearly impossible, with custom-made shoes costing thousands of dollars. Even daily tasks, like getting into a taxi, walking through doorways, or standing up in a house, became constant challenges. The body changes with age. It's just a part of life. Wrinkles appear, hair turns gray, and joints begin to ache. But what if, instead of the usual signs of aging, something truly bizarre happened? This is exactly the case of Mrs. Zhang Ruifeng, a 101-year-old grandmother from China. Her aging process took an unexpected turn. A few years ago, her family noticed a rough patch of skin forming on her forehead. There was nothing unusual about it, but then the patch began to harden, spread, and eventually grew into the shape of 2 horns. Yes, real horns. As if that wasn't strange enough, a second horn has now begun to grow on the other side of her forehead. How do you even begin to explain something like this? Her family, understandably, was shocked. Her youngest son, now 60 years old, admits that at first they weren't concerned. But when one horn had fully formed and another appeared, they couldn't help but wonder if she was turning into something more than human. Doctors say the answer lies in a rare skin condition called cutaneous horns, a buildup of keratin, the same protein that makes up hair, nails, and, yes, animal horns. Normally, these growths are small, just a few millimeters long, but in Mrs. Zhang's case, it was entirely different. Surgery could remove them, but it wouldn't stop them from growing back. Now, Mrs. Zhang continues to live her life as a local legend. Some villagers believe it's a sign of wisdom, while others fear it because it seems unnatural. Born on December 16, 1993 in Nagpur, India, Jyoti Amge began life like any other child. But everything changed after the age of 5, when her growth suddenly came to a halt. She was diagnosed with osteodysplastic syndrome, a rare form of dwarfism that prevented her from growing beyond a certain height. Despite this, Jyoti refused to let her condition define her. From the age of 4, she attended school like any other child, though she required a specially designed desk and chair to accommodate her unique stature. In 2009, doctors officially measured her at 61.95 centimeters, making her the shortest teenager in the world. And at that time, she weighed only 12 pounds, just 9 pounds more than her birth weight. But the best part is that Jyoti's personality is far from small. Even as a teenager, she was full of life, loved fashion and makeup, and had big dreams. Her biggest dream? To become an actress and make a name for herself. Breaking the record was just the beginning. On December 16, 2011, she celebrated her 18th birthday in a way most people could only dream of, by becoming the shortest living woman in the world at that time. She was officially measured at 62.8 centimeters, just slightly taller than she was at 15, but still short enough to hold the record. For someone who had faced so many challenges, this milestone completely changed her life. Doors that once seemed impossible to open were now wide open, and a whole new world was waiting for her. Her biggest desire was to go to London and experience life there. She also wished to visit the United States with a special and ambitious dream of pursuing an acting career in films. Fast forward to today, and guess what she has done since achieving her world record title? Jyoti has traveled the world meeting other amazing record holders and even stood next to Chandra Bahadur Dangi, the shortest man in history. And here's the funny part. This time, Jyoti was actually taller than someone else. But that's not all. Jyoti didn't just want to be famous for her height. She had always dreamed of becoming an actress, and guess what? She made it a reality. She appeared on India's biggest reality show, Big Boss India, and later took her talents to Hollywood, playing Ma Petite in the hit series American Horror Story, Asylum. Have you ever heard of someone whose skin grows like a tree? It's true. And it's the heartbreaking truth for Didi Koswara, a man from Indonesia who spent years battling a disease that completely isolated him, even from his own family. Didi suffers from Lewandowski-Lutz syndrome, a rare disorder caused by uncontrolled HPV infections that lead to wart-like growths covering his body. This condition was so severe that his hands and feet were weighed down by over 13 pounds of tumors, making even the simplest tasks impossible. Sadly, his condition not only affected his health, but also his personal life. After 10 years of marriage, his wife left him to struggle with his circumstances, unable to work or support the family. Didi found himself alone. His story spread worldwide through documentaries and media coverage, highlighting his struggle. Many people in his village even believed that this condition was the result of a curse, but doctors gained a better understanding in 2008 when he underwent a groundbreaking surgery to remove over 13 pounds of warts from his body. The results were astounding. He was finally able to wear flip-flops and even play Sudoku, but the disease remained persistent. The tumors kept recurring, forcing him to undergo 2 surgeries a year just to manage the infections. 3 months before he passed away, Didi was hospitalized once again. The doctors praised his incredible recovery. His sister revealed that in his final days, Didi was too weak to speak or even feed himself. Tragically, he continued to distance himself from his family until the very end. But one thing never changed: his determination to fight. His nurse recalled that Didi never gave up hope of recovery, despite everyone considering him to be cursed. He kept going. How would you feel if, at the age of 20, people still asked what grade you were in? This is the reality for Michelle Kish, a young woman from Illinois, born with a rare genetic condition called Bowman-Strife syndrome. How rare is it? When she was born, there were only 250 known cases worldwide. This condition makes Michelle appear childlike and causes a form of dwarfism, making her much smaller than others her age. She is just a little taller than her sister's waist. But it's not just about appearance. Michelle requires 247 medical care sessions. She has a dedicated nurse who accompanies her to school and frequently visits the hospital for treatment. Despite these challenges, Michelle is one of the happiest and most determined people you will ever meet. She dreams of becoming a pediatrician one day, turning her experiences into a way to help others. Like any 20-year-old girl, she also dreams of finding love, the ideal boyfriend, a guy with long hair who always feels her emotions. Despite everything, Michelle grew into a smart, cheerful, and outgoing young woman. She enjoys playing the piano, playing games on her iPad, and spending time with her dog, Piper. She's full of energy, and her positivity is truly contagious. Does Michelle realize when people mistake her for a child? Her mother, Mary, who has cared for her since birth, had no idea about Michelle's condition during pregnancy. From the moment Michelle was born, doctors knew something was wrong. But her condition was so rare that even they were confused. They had to call in a geneticist from another hospital just to figure out what was going on. When the specialists arrived, they didn't recognize Michelle's condition from their experience, only seeing it in medical textbooks. It was Hallermann-Streiff syndrome. How rare is that? Mary Kish recalls the moment they received the diagnosis, describing how her heart sank. She mentioned that no one at the Memorial Children's Hospital had ever encountered a case like this before. Can you imagine how frightening that must have been? It was a genetic disorder, 1 in 5 million, and no one could tell them what would happen. Would Michelle be okay? How would they care for her? Her doctors simply had no answers, and that uncertainty devastated her family. Michelle faced everything with incredible strength. She had to visit the hospital so many times over the years that she couldn't even count them. It almost felt like her second home. Basically, she says that Michelle Kish is not the only case in a million. Her condition is so rare that she actually has 26 out of 28 symptoms of Hallermann-Streiff syndrome, including facial abnormalities, beak-like nose, a recessed chin, bilateral cataracts, and a high forehead. But that's not all. She also faces brittle bone dwarfism, chronic lung disease, cardiomyopathy, and hair loss. Just a few examples. Essentially, she faces more medical challenges than most people could imagine, yet she is one of the happiest and most confident people you'll ever meet. How long is too long when it comes to hair? A few feet, maybe even a yard. For most people, hair is something that needs to be cut, styled, and maintained within practical limits. But for Asha Mandela, her hair is not just about style. It's a spiritual journey, a lifetime commitment, and literally a part of her identity breaking records. With a length of over 110 feet, Asha's hair is longer than a school bus. Yes, her hair stretches across rooms, down stairways, and requires a whole system just to dry and carry. But why would someone spend over 4 decades growing their hair this incredibly long? For her, it all started as a personal transformation when she moved from Trinidad and Tobago to the United States. She views growing her hair long not just as a fashion statement, but as a spiritual awakening. She talks about dreams, visions, and a deep connection to what she affectionately calls her Cobra Child, a term of endearment for her massive hair. To her, her hair is not just hair, it is who she is. She honors its length as her destiny. But can you imagine the challenges that come with such a special hairdo? Her 42-pound hair puts immense pressure on her neck, and washing it is a process that takes 6 bottles of shampoo and 2 days to dry. She's constantly stopped by strangers, often asked about cleanliness, but she proudly maintains her meticulous routine to ensure each strand is properly cared for. Who helps her take care of all this? Her husband, Emmanuel C.H., a professional hairstylist from Kenya, has been dedicated to maintaining her legendary hair. While other record holders have eventually cut their hair, she insists she will never do so. "Why should I?" she asks. "This is me. This is who I am." Her hair has brought her fame, a place in the Guinness World Records, and an identity like no other. But at its core, it represents something much deeper: a lifelong devotion to self-expression, resilience, and an unbreakable connection to something greater than herself. Have you ever imagined being the tallest person in the room, towering over everyone around you, and immediately becoming the center of attention? Not because of what you say or do, but simply because of your extraordinary height. Meet Sultan Kosin. This is not just a passing thought, but his reality, with a height of 8 feet 2.8 inches. He holds the Guinness World Record as the tallest living man on Earth. But while his height is nothing short of amazing, his journey is even more incredible. Born in a small village in Turkey, Sultan was an ordinary child until a tumor in his pituitary gland triggered a condition called gigantism, causing him to grow uncontrollably. By the time he was a teenager, his height surpassed most adults. School became difficult, and daily life became a series of unique challenges. Can you imagine struggling to find shoes that fit, clothes that are the right size, or even a car that can accommodate your tall frame? Sultan never let his condition hold him back, using his height to help his family with simple tasks like changing light bulbs, reaching high shelves, and hanging curtains. But life wasn't just about adapting, it was about thriving. In 2009, Sultan officially became the tallest man in the world, a title that would make him famous overnight. He traveled around the world, meeting people from all walks of life, and even had the opportunity to meet the shortest man ever recorded, Chandra Bahadur Dangi, creating an unforgettable moment in history. But would fame ever outweigh the challenges of living in a body that never stops growing? Along with his rapid growth came serious health risks. His body had to bear immense pressure, and without medical intervention, his height could continue to increase. In 2010, doctors in the U.S. performed a groundbreaking gamma knife surgery to save his life. They ultimately stopped his growth, stabilizing his health. Sultan's journey took an exciting turn. He appeared in Hollywood films, joined the magic circus of Samoa, and finally found clothes that actually fit. But beyond fame and opportunity, it wasn't about finding someone who truly accepted him. His greatest achievement, perhaps the most special of all, was finding love and marrying Merv Debo in 2013. Though the marriage ended years later, Sultan continued to inspire. In 2022, he celebrated his 40th birthday by standing next to a life-size statue of Robert Wadlow, the tallest man ever recorded. It was an iconic moment, a meeting of giants from both the past and present. Not everyone who stands out is trying to. Some people are simply born that way. But what happens when your very existence challenges the idea of what is considered normal? For Francesco "Frank" Lentini, fitting in was never an option. Born in 1889 in Sicily, he entered this world with something that amazed everyone: 3 legs, 4 feet, and 2 sets of genitalia. His condition was caused by a parasitic twin, a less developed sibling that was attached to his spine at a time when medicine had few answers. Frank's differences were considered something to be hidden, But instead of feeling ashamed, he turned his uniqueness into a remarkable life story. Can you imagine living in a world that isn't made for you? Finding clothes that fit when you sit, or even just walking down the street without being stared at. As a child, Frank faced rejection even from his own family, who sent him to live with his aunt. But do you think that stopped him? No, he didn't let any opportunity pass by. By the age of 5, he had learned how to stretch and control his third leg. Although it wasn't strong enough to support him, instead of seeing it as a burden, he turned it into a talent, learning how to play football with his extra leg. And guess what? He played so well that the world began calling him the three-legged football player. Determined to pave his own way, Frank left Sicily for the United States, where he became a famous sideshow performer. He worked with Ringling Brothers Circus, Barnum and Bailey, and the Buffalo Bills Wild West show, performing across the country. Unlike many in the sideshow business, Frank was highly respected and even earned the title of the King. But his life wasn't just about the stage. It was about accepting who he truly was. When asked if he ever wished he had been born normal, Frank famously replied, "Which leg do you want me to cut off?" He refused to see his body as anything less than a full life. His life was also full of joy. He married Teresa Murray and had 4 children. Later, he spent his final years with his companion Helen Shupp until he passed away in 1966 at the age of 77. To this day, Frank's story continues to captivate, featured in books, movies, and even on the back cover of an Alice in Chains album. His legacy is proof of a great truth. You are not defined by what makes you different, but by how you embrace it. Let's talk about pushing limits. Not just breaking records, but challenging expectations in a way that science itself struggles to explain. For Tom Staniford, life is a constant challenge, but not in the way you might think. He's not only an elite para-cyclist, a law scholar, or an unrelenting athlete, but he's also one of only 8 people in the world diagnosed with MDP syndrome, a rare condition so unique that, for many years, even doctors couldn't name it. Tom's body doesn't store fat under the skin, but in a strange way, it behaves as though he's obese, leading to type 2 diabetes. He also suffers from a connective tissue disorder that nearly immobilizes his ankles, low testosterone, and moderate hearing loss. This combination makes professional cycling almost impossible. But truly, nothing is impossible if you refuse to accept failure. Instead of letting his condition define his life, Tom overcame it. In 2011, he became the UK National Para-Cycling Champion, exceeding the average performance of men. With absolute determination to overcome physical limitations, he treated his training process like a scientific experiment, fine-tuning his diet, endurance, and recovery to keep himself in peak condition. But isn't that what truly makes champions? The ability to adapt, move forward, and redefine what's possible. Spending too much time on the bike, essentially I use cycling to heal myself, he explains. Every race is a battle, each victory a statement that limits only exist if you accept them. But what happens when even doctors don't fully understand what's happening inside your body? For many years, Tom had no clear diagnosis, until researchers at the University of Exeter used genetic mapping to identify a mutation in the P gene responsible for his condition. This breakthrough discovery was groundbreaking. But for Tom, labels were never the goal. "I'm unique, just like everyone else," he said. With his condition, Tom was finally recognized. Now he could be more accurately classified in Paris cycling competitions. But he wasn't looking for shortcuts, only new challenges. While scientists continue to study potential treatments, He keeps moving forward, proving that rarity isn't something that holds you back. It's about how far you can go. Have you ever felt like life has handed you such a huge challenge that overcoming it seems unimaginable? Imagine living in a body that doctors can't fully understand, a body that refuses to follow biological rules. What would you do? Give up or fight to live life on your own terms? Meet Mandy Sellers, a woman who did exactly that. Born in 1975 in Lancashire, England, Mandy wasn't an ordinary child from the moment she was born. Her legs and feet were abnormally large, growing at an uncontrollable rate. Doctors struggled to determine whether it was Proteus syndrome, the same rare disorder related to the famous Elephant Man, Joseph Merrick, or something entirely different. For many years, Mandy lived in uncertainty. Some experts believed she had Proteus syndrome, while others suspected something even rarer. Finally, in 2013, genetic testing revealed a mutation in the P3CA gene, a condition so unique that it didn't even have a name. Can you imagine living with something so rare that even the best doctors in the world struggle to diagnose it? No, but this is what makes Mandy's story extraordinary. Not just her condition, but her indomitable spirit. Mandy's doctors doubted she would survive long, and when she was 7, they recommended amputating her leg. However, her mother refused, believing Mandy deserved to live as normal a life as possible. And Mandy not only survived, but she thrived, proving that nothing is impossible if you don't give up. Have you ever seen someone perform a party trick so bizarre that it made you question reality? Some people can bend their fingers backward, others can wiggle their ears. But what if you could make your eyeballs pop out on command using sound? Impossible, right? But that's the ability of Kim Goodman, a woman from Chicago, who holds the Guinness World Record for the farthest protruding eyeballs, an astonishing figure of 0.47 inches. Yes, nearly half an inch. Her eyeballs protrude out of their sockets. It's such a shocking sight that you may have to witness it firsthand to believe it. But how does someone discover such a talent? It all started with a rather unusual accident. One day, Kim was struck on the head, and instead of just swelling or bruising, something far stranger happened. Her eyeballs protruded much further than normal. But as shocking as it was, she quickly realized she could actually control it. From that moment on, she could make her eyes bulge at will, whether she was laughing or even yawning. Can you imagine waking up one day and discovering you have an ability no one else has? Of course, a talent like this couldn't go unnoticed. Kim became a global sensation when she appeared on TV shows, where she stunned audiences with her literal eye-popping skills. Her incredible ability even earned her a spot on the Guinness World Records 50th anniversary list of the top 10 greatest achievements of all time. Now, that's a record you don't see every day. Her unique skill has even entered popular culture, whether in TV shows, documentaries, or viral videos. Her ability has captivated audiences worldwide. People are often drawn to extraordinary things, and her talent is a perfect example of how rare human abilities captivate our imagination. If you're impressed by these individuals, leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. And now let's move on to the next person. Not all records are about speed, strength, or endurance. Some people make history simply by accepting who they are, like Mikel Ruffinelli, the woman with the widest hips in the world, with an astonishing 8-foot-wide circumference. Yes, you heard that right. But even more fascinating is that she stands only 5 feet 4 inches tall with a 40-inch waist, proving that the human body can take on extraordinary shapes. So why does she stand out? Her journey wasn't something she planned for in her 20s. She was an average-sized woman weighing about 180 pounds. But at the age of 22, after giving birth to her first child, her body began to change. After each pregnancy, her hips grew wider, her weight increased, and soon enough, she found herself living in a body unlike anyone else's. Doctors speculated that she might have lymphedema, a rare condition that causes excessive fat buildup in certain areas of the body. But the issue is, M didn't just exist in her unique body, she thrived in it. While most people might struggle with body image, she embraced her figure with confidence. But isn't that the real challenge? Learning to love oneself despite societal expectations. Once self-conscious about her appearance, she gradually learned to appreciate it. Even as a plus-size model, she wasn't afraid to flaunt her curves and became an inspiration for body positivity. So what truly defines confidence? Fitting into a mold or owning yourself unapologetically? Of course, living with 100-inch hips comes with its challenges. Squeezing through doorways is a daily struggle. Regular chairs are not an option, so she uses reinforced furniture to accommodate her frame. Even sleeping requires special adjustments, with a bed that's 7 feet wide to ensure enough space. Driving a compact car is impossible, so she drives a truck on the streets. Overcoming all of this, M has found unwavering support from her husband, Reggie Brooks, who loves her for who she is. Have you ever faced a problem that felt too big to solve, as if no matter what you do, you can't find a way out? This wasn't just a thought, but the reality for Patrick when he reached his heaviest weight of 1,071 pounds, making him one of the heaviest people in history. But behind the numbers and headlines is a man fighting to regain his life in a body that no longer fit him. Patrick wasn't always like this. He grew up in Grand Island, Nebraska, with an ordinary childhood and even earned the prestigious Eagle Scout Award. After graduating high school, he went on to college and later became a restaurant manager, a job combined with struggles with food that contributed to his weight gain. But isn't that how many struggles begin? Slowly, almost unnoticed, until one day they're not just numbers anymore, but limitations. For 5 years, that was the time Patrick spent stuck in a room without fresh air, unable to step outside. Nothing you could imagine. When he was desperately in need of medical help, even moving him was an impossible task. His house wasn't built for someone of his size, so they had to cut half the house just to get him outside, and a regular ambulance was out of the question. They had to bring in a special truck from another state, complete with extra-wide doors and a winch system. But the real issue wasn't just moving him, it was his health. Heart failure, diabetes, high blood pressure, pneumonia, arthritis. His body was shutting down. Doctors didn't sugarcoat the truth. If he didn't act, he wouldn't have a chance. Patrick was determined to fight. He had gastric bypass surgery and adopted a 1,200-calorie diet. The transformation was incredible. He lost over 550 pounds. For the first time in years, he still had hope. "Recently, I couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel," he admitted. Some stories are so strange and unbelievable that they blur the line between reality and myth. Have you ever heard of Edward Mordrake, the man who was said to have been born with 2 faces, one normal face and one sinister face that whispered to him at night? This is a story that has fascinated people for over a century. But the real question is it true or just another urban legend? According to popular accounts, Mordrake was born in the late 1800s with a fully formed second face at the back of his head. Unlike conjoined twins, this face could neither speak, eat nor function independently, but the legend claims it could laugh, cry, and whisper terrifying things to Edward. Haunted by this strange presence, he was said to have begged doctors to remove it. When they refused, he was believed to have committed suicide at the age of 23. Sounds like a scene from a horror movie, right? Because it probably is. Even with numerous accounts, there is no medical evidence, birth records, or reliable historical documents proving that Edward Mordrake ever existed. However, historians now believe that this could have been a fictional story written to shock rather than the truth. But this legend refuses to die, and in 2014, the story allegedly of Dr. M was introduced in American Horror Story, breathing new life into the tale and bringing it into popular culture. Soon after, a strange image circulated on social media, a preserved two-faced skull said to be the remains of Edward. But is it real? The so-called skull was actually a papier-mâché sculpture by a famous artist who drew inspiration from the story and decided to recreate it in art. And those are 14 rare individuals you'd hardly ever meet in a lifetime, 1 in a million. Yet they turned their differences into something extraordinary. Their stories are proof of the incredible diversity and uniqueness of humanity. Who impressed you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss out on more amazing videos. See you in the next one.